Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and in this video, we're talking about 10 design mistakes an interior designer would never make. We have got a lot to get through, so let's get into the video. Now, the first mistake an interior designer would never make is picking a color via the swatch. And I'm talking about those little plastic pieces of paper you get at the hardware store with the color sample on them. Never, 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 ever. I actually shared on my Instagram story a few days ago, my Instagram is at GarrettLeChic, that I was choosing paint colors for my living room and I was holding two of them in my hand and they looked almost identical, but when I held them up to the wall, they were two completely different colors. When I painted those swatches on, they were vastly different. It was kind of shocking. Well, that's because light refracts differently off of different planes. So a horizontal plane is going to be very, very washed out because the light is directly on that. It means that those paint swatches in your hand look nothing like they will on the wall. So you never go to a hardware store or anywhere and just hold up a paint swatch like looking at it down, because you're not going to see the real color. Another thing you never want to do is only paint one sample, paint one area, because light looks different in different areas and at different times of the day. So I personally am just going to paint a swatch on the wall, paint a little square, like a 6x6 square, so I can see that color at different times of the day in different areas, because I want to see what the light looks like, both natural lighting and artificial. You should always take your time, paint the swatch, get it on the wall to see what the color really is. The next mistake an interior designer would never make is forgetting to use contrast. I love contrast in a space, and it's one of my favorite things. It's so gorgeous when you do it right. And I'm not talking about contrast just in color. I'm talking about materials. I'm talking about finishes and styles, because I want to see a mix of different things. Mixing contrast together, whether that is bold black and white contrast or something like an off-white and a cream, will definitely elevate the space because it creates layers. That layering is so essential and vital to a space because it's personality, it's depth, and it lets your eye rest for a moment to take something in, and you're constantly figuring out, finding something new to look at, and it's really beautiful. It creates a space that's very relaxing, but very interesting. I also really love mixing different styles together because you create a space that's always timeless. Something like a very modern piece of furniture might get dated at some point, but that really classic piece you have it paired with will always be timeless, and that's always really great too. And the same thing goes for colors. If you're contrasting two colors, one of them might not always be the freshest, most up-to-date thing, but the other one, it will be. White never goes out of style. Off-white, cream, beige, black, those are all really timeless elements. So mix those in with those more high impact, more trend-driven colors, because it creates a space that's timeless, that's elegant, but also layered and has a lot of visual interest. Now, the next design mistake a designer would never make is all about where to hang the artwork. I hear a lot of design advice about this. You see a lot online about hanging it in line with where your eye is and all of that. We are not all the same height. We are not all gonna be looking at the same thing. If I'm looking at the center of the artwork, you might be looking at the bottom of the frame, honey. So we do not wanna take that advice, and I always suggest hanging artwork in line with itself or with the architecture. Something I get questions about all the time is, what about smaller pieces of art? Right behind me is one of them. It's hung low so you can see it on the camera, and I love that for you, but it's actually a part of a bigger collage that makes it feel like a much larger scale piece, which is really fantastic. I went on an iconic rant about this in my Stop Taking This Design Advice Part 1 video, which I will link for you in the description box down below. Now, that video was viral, a sensation, and everyone loved it. And it reminds me that we are almost at 50,000 subscribers, which is so insane to me. It's unbelievable, amazing. And I want to thank you all so much for that. I don't know if we'll be there when this video goes live or not, but we are so close. I can feel it. So as a thank you, I am going to be doing a Q&A. Look out for a community post. If you have a mobile app, you'll see that pretty easily. And if you are on your desktop, you can go to my YouTube page and look under the community post tab. If you are on your television, you won't be able to see it there. So head over to the desktop, keep an eye out for that, and leave me your questions for the Q&A I'm going to be doing as a thank you to everyone. And of course, if you're not already, take a moment and hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications to get notified every time I upload, join the LeChic family, and be sure you let me know after you have done so I can personally welcome you to the channel. Now, the next design mistake an interior designer would never make is about using asymmetry. This is one of the most important elements to incorporate into every space because asymmetry is real. It is life. Not every home is perfectly symmetrical. Not every space should be either, because if everything was, it would all look the same, and that's not what anybody wants. Using asymmetry is important to a space because you want to embrace the natural elements in that room, in that space, and in life. So having that one element that's offset actually feels more natural than a perfectly symmetrical one. I also always suggest doing a one-off somewhere. Have one chair and a little side table just to throw the balance around a little bit to create a little bit of that asymmetry. It's also nice to have a large plant on one side of a room or a cantilevered light fixture. These are great because they can add to a very symmetrical space just that little bit of asymmetry you need and bring in another essential element like life, like a plant brings to a space, or like lighting. Those are always really important. Don't underestimate the importance of that asymmetry in a space because it brings so much character, so much life and vibrancy, and it's reflective of the fact that it's real life. Every space is different. They're not all perfect, just like every person. And that's always a really great element to embrace in your home, in your life, in your space, because it's realistic and it reflects real life. The next design mistake an interior designer would never make is picking a paint color first. You always do that last, because if you pick a paint color first, you are now boxed into that paint color and everything else has to work with it, versus using a paint color to tie everything together. It creates a limitation on you and what you can do, what you can bring into the space that nobody wants. That's actually why we see so much neutral color in spaces, because it's easier just to bring in whatever you want when the walls work with everything to begin with. But if you are a color lover, a person that really loves a space that feels cohesive and elegant, beautiful, and cultivated, you always want to choose the paint color last. That way you are not boxed in. I like choosing rugs first, and I like choosing a furniture piece. That way I start to feel a color scheme. I like to choose a pattern or some sort of element like that first. Find a footing to get a start in your design and build and layer on top of that. The next design mistake an interior designer would never make is to not plan. Planning is essential in design because it sets a footprint. It gives us a guideline as to what we are looking for. When you're furnishing, that is so important because you need to know what you're looking for. Otherwise, you're just buying random things and hoping they work together, and that doesn't usually work. A floor plan or a furniture plan is essential to have in your space, to have when you are designing that room, because you are going to figure out the furniture placement in advance, and now you have that guide of what can you do, what margin of error do you have when you are searching for a piece of furniture in terms of the size and the dimensions. You do not want to create a blocked pathway. You need to be able to get into a seating arrangement, get around the dining table. You need clear path and walk in hallways because that's a safety feature. It's also an accessibility issue. If you cannot access the space, you can't use it. Now, I have heard you. We are going to take a quick little baby break and bring in Albert because everybody wants to know, where's the baby? Where is Albert? Oh, there he is. Are you 17, enjoying the summer, keeping cool with your baby brothers? That was a little rhyme. It was very cute. You gonna wave at everybody? No? What, are you looking for your baby brothers? Are you looking for those bowls? Okay, Albert. Thank you for visiting with us. We'll see you later. The next mistake an interior designer would never make is misusing scale. Scale is a really amazing word designers love to use because it's really descriptive. Something like size does not explain anything to me other than small, medium, large, other than the dimensions of a piece. Scale is the word we use instead because it refers to the visual size of a piece and the relationship that piece has to the rest of the space. Misusing scale means a space that feels out of balance. Sometimes a piece will be the exact same size as another piece, but one is large scale and one is small scale. If you have a really small room, I'm looking for small scale furniture, and that doesn't have anything to do with the actual dimensions. I want to see a piece that's a little bit taller, that has taller legs, that I can see more of the floor of and see through more, because it feels more open and the space will feel larger. You can do anything you want with scale, and it's actually how designers trick your mind into seeing something that isn't necessarily there. The next mistake an interior designer would never make is to use everything new or everything vintage. I'm a vintage lover. I love to bring in a piece with some history and some character, a beautiful element, an essential piece, but I also want to contrast that with something new. That way I get a little bit of old, I get a little bit of new. We're creating depth and some layers. Vintage pieces are essential to a space. And I know a lot of people are like, Garrett, I don't want to have some old sofa, old chairs or whatever. You don't have to. You don't even have to use vintage tables or vintage rugs. Bring in a vintage accessory or a vintage piece of artwork, something that feels a little bit old, that has a little bit of history on it because it has some real character. I love a vintage rug, don't get me wrong. And I tend to use a lot of newer upholstery pieces because they're easier to work with. But sometimes you find a really great deal, a really amazing piece of quality furniture, have it reupholstered, give it a new look and feel, but it still has that character you are after if it's got a slightly older design to it. I love a piece of vintage, I love a brand new element, I like to mix them together because it creates layers that are really beautiful and have a lot of character. You don't want a home that feels like everything is brand new out of a box because it feels like everything came out of a box. The next design mistake an interior designer would never make is to cheap out on the big, large pieces of furniture in a room. And I'm not talking about, oh, the dining table. I'm talking about the dining chairs. What are you sitting on? What is getting the most use? It needs to be the best quality in the room because it's getting the most use. It's gonna need to have the most resiliency to stand up to that use. So me cheaping out on a sofa or some chairs is not going to do anything good for your space and the longevity. It's gonna wear out really quickly, and then we're gonna be buying new chairs, and it's just gonna be a cycle over and over again. It is worth taking your time and finding the right piece and investing in good quality when it comes to those high use pieces. The coffee table probably won't get as much use as the sofa will. I'm gonna be sitting on it, maybe the kids will jump on it, the dogs will be on the sofa. It needs to withstand all of that. It needs to have a really good double rub count on the fabrics. It needs to be a really good spring system and great foam in it because I want it to last a long time. That is a mistake designers never make. You don't cheap out on the most used piece in the space. It's essential, it's a #1 rule, and a good way to find a quality piece of furniture is to test the weight of it. If I can bump into it and it's gonna shift, if I can easily pick or lift it up, I'm gonna look a little bit deeper at something else. I just don't want something that feels really light and feels very chintzy in a space because it needs to be really good quality and I want to be able to feel that in the piece. Definitely take your time, find the right piece of high quality furniture for those essential elements in the room. You don't want to cheap out on a mattress, especially not if you have a bad back, because you're gonna have a bad back after you do. Look for the high quality elements that you use the most, that need to be the most comfortable and offer you the most support, because they will need that in their lifespan to have the longest longevity in your space. The next mistake an interior designer would never make is not using a natural focal point. A natural focal point is something like your fireplace or a really beautiful window, really great floors, or amazing ceiling features. I want to take advantage of what that space already has to offer because it's already there. I don't have to spend any of the budget doing that because it's there. I don't have to, and I can put the money into higher quality elements somewhere else. If you've got a really amazing window, I can do a lot with that. I can do some beautiful drapes. I can do something simple like that. I just want to take that in. I want it to pop. I want that to be a feature. If I've got a really amazing focal point in a space, I'm not going to paint the walls a crazy color to distract from that. I'm not going to use a lime green sofa and pull your eye away from it. No, we're going to do some simple elements around it, some beautiful layer detail elements that you will take advantage of, you'll look at later on. But when you first walk into that space, I want your eye to go right to that fireplace, that focal point, that window, whatever it is, because that is a beautiful element. That's what you bought the house for. That's what you paid for. And we need to see it. We need to take advantage of it because it's there. It's a natural element. It's a grounding element. It's beautiful. I want to see it and I want you to see it because That's the biggest element in the room. It's the easiest thing to take advantage of. It's also the easiest thing to distract from, which is not what we want to do. Focus on the focal point. Well, there you have it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to share with me in the comment section down below and let me know what is a mistake that you have made, that you have corrected. Share with us how you fixed it, because somebody else might have made that mistake. It wasn't me, but I'm sure someone did. They want to know, and be sure you give this video a like. I also know that you know someone that they think they're an interior designer, but every single one of these mistakes is something that they love to do. Share this video with them, because I'm shady and you don't have to be, and friends help friends. And I will see you in the next one.